That is BBQplus, and we're going to talk about how we made a brisket that juicy from Costco with coffee in the rub. Hey, it's Jeff from BBQplus, and today is brisket day. So my wife and daughter were just down in Texas for a little girls trip, went to Austin, spent some time in Waco, and not huge fans of smoked meat, and especially brisket, but my wife came back and said, you got to do some brisket like that. Best I've ever had. So we're going to attempt to put a little Central Texas spin on a brisket. So picked up this guy over at Costco, about 8.5 pounds, not huge, doesn't have a big point on it, looks mostly flat, but it says it's a full brisket, so we're gonna give it a try. We're gonna cut this guy open, do a little trim on it, and then put some seasoning on, throw it on the pellet grill, and see what we can come up with. So we've got some of that hard fat right here. Now this is cold. This brisket was in the refrigerator, and being a cold brisket, it's going to be a little easier to trim than if you put it out and let it get too warm. So step one, tip one. So tip one is to make sure that the brisket is pretty cold when you're doing your initial trim on it. Just going to get a bunch of that hard fat off of there. We're going to save that brisket trim because we want to maybe use that for some burgers. Also, a lot of this fat we're going to end up using to render down. I've actually got some tallow that's rendered down from a previous brisket, and that's been in the refrigerator, so we're going to use that to be able to add to this guy. Looks pretty good. We don't have any real sharp edges on here. Cut a little more off here. Hey, just remember you're not watching this for the knife skills. That is not my forte. So we're going to start out with this was Operation Barbecue Relief, just a Texas salt, pepper, garlic rub. We're going to put that on nice and liberally. And then I'm going to add a little bit of steakhouse rub. And this came from local kind of discount volume grocery store called Winco. So we're going to add that in next, just to give it a little bit extra flavor profile. Not going to put too much of this on, just want to add a little bit. It's got a little bit of pepper and a little bit of chili and cumin and This is definitely coming out a little bit more chunky. And we just want to kick that up just a little bit. I'm still not 100% just a salt, pepper, garlic guy on my brisket. So I think that looks good on the first side. Note my little trick here also is I put a baggie just around here with the rubber band. That way I can handle it with my hands, don't have to wash these off, the labels don't get all messy, and just kind of a nice little tip there. And we're gonna go around the edge too. There we go, with some salt, pepper, garlic. It's that classic Texas. Make sure we get the edges here also. That'll help form some nice bark. All the way around. I've seen where a lot of guys will just use a ton of rub on there. I'm maybe a little bit more cautious on the amount of rub that I put on, but I think this will work out. And I'm going to add something a little bit different on here. I find it gives it a little bit more depth, and this is actually some Kona coffee. So I'm going to add a little bit of this. I think this might set up nice for a bark, and I just find that a little bit of coffee in my rub gives an additional flavor depth, which I really like. You may want to give it a try if you're a coffee fan, or if you just want to experiment a little bit. But we're just going to add a little bit of coffee just on the front side there. That looks good. We're going to get this guy in the smoker and put it about 225, let it go for a while, and we'll check in on it. I hope that my wife is going to be happy with my version of Texas barbecue. Hey, if you like what we're doing here and you find some value in the videos, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, also give me a thumbs up like on it. And any comments, I'll be glad to reply. Love to see your ideas, your thoughts, your encouragement. Yeah, just drop them in the comments down below. So it's time to get this guy on the smoker. Got this rolling. Now we're just gonna slide this fella right on top. I've got a couple of probes that I put in here already. There, just kind of set that right in the middle. We'll plug these probes in so we can keep track of our cook. Got to actually head out a little bit for an appointment today, but nice thing is this connects up to the my Wi-Fi and then the app on my phone, and with the Inkbird I can kind of monitor what's going on no matter where I'm at, so that's pretty handy. Turn that on at internal temperature of 43 and 45. I'm gonna put that right there. All right, little fella, treat us good. Let's check in a little bit later. All right, we're about 5 hours in. That's looking pretty nice. Got some good bark developing on there. I'm happy with that. Good amount of smoke. Let's see what our temperatures. Internal there 170, 173 with the two different probes. So that's nice that they're fairly uniform and close to each other. Looks like we got some nice smoke developing. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna drop this into a pan. So you can see this pan, I put some chopsticks down in the bottom. I just buy these in bulk, and you see that down in the bottom I've also got some beef tallow. So I take some of that fat that I cut off, put that into a pan, render it out, and strain off all the little chunks and put that in the refrigerator, so that way I've got it for the future. So next step is to take this brisket and to put it inside that pan. We're also going to add in some beef broth, just Campbell's beef broth. And those chopsticks are to help give a little bit of room down in the bottom so that it can kind of, the brisket doesn't sit right down in the bottom of the pan. So this is going to be pretty easy. We're just going to pick this guy up. Looking nice. Just set it right in there. And then I'm going to put some aluminum foil over the top. So this is just going to go for, I guess till we get to a probe tender, 205 degrees, maybe right in there, 203. Don't want it to go too long, but until we're probe tender on there, we're going to just put it in that nice little juicy bath of tallow and the beef broth and just let it go. Probably going to be for another couple hours or so. Probably going to pump up the temperature a little bit. Currently we're running at about 230. I think I'm going to bring this up a couple of clicks, so we'll go up to about 275 in here. Got plenty of pellets. Again, we're running about 170-ish for internal temperature on there. Want to see that come right up around 200. And I'll put some aluminum foil in to kind of encapsulate that, kind of steams in there, and we're going to check back in a couple hours. Nice and tight all the way around the edges. All right, we'll check on you a little bit later. We've been running here since about 8 o'clock this morning. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. So at about 1 o'clock, I took it from the low 220s and kicked it up to about 250 to run a little bit hotter. And that's also when we put it in this foil and add a little bit of juice. We're going to probe this and find out what we're looking at for tenderness. Oh, it's really tender. Really tender on this. All right, we are right on 11 hours that this guy's been going. You see that we've got it kicked down a little bit, running about 175 inside. Just kind of a keep warm. Let's check this out with a probe. Oh, that goes in like butter. A little bit tight over on this end, which would have been the flat, but wow, the point is just no effort at all. So I'm going to take this guy off. We're going to put it inside of a cooler and just let it mellow out there for a little while, and then we're going to cut into it and see how we did. We'll give it the taste test. Give it a little push down inside there. (197), 202 for internal temperature, so that is right where we need to be. I think that the cooking part of this was a success. We will find out what the tasting part of it is like. All right, brisket is out and we are ready to cut into this guy. So we've been running this for a little over 12 hours total cook time. We had 4 hours initially on kind of the low or smoke type setting, and then we brought it up a little bit higher after 4 hours and ran it from about a 225 up to about a 275. Did that for about 3 hours, and then we kind of came up to temp, but I really wasn't all the way tender in the flat side. The point was just probing like butter, but the flat wasn't quite doing it. So what I did was turned it down to the lowest setting on my pellet grill, and that way we kind of keep it at temp and let it just kind of continue to cook through and hopefully soften that up a little bit. Pulled it off at about 10.5 hours and put it into a cooler so that way it could just kind of go down in temp, and I wanted to make sure that we had at least the 150 degree temperature before I cut into it. So now it's dropped down. We're running, let's see, 152, 155 is where our temps are at for the internal probes, and I think we're ready to check it out and see what this will taste like. Pretty excited for this. Oh wow, look at that. Yeah, that is really, really soft. So there's the tallow, and also put in a can of beef broth. So gonna cut into it with Grandpa's old brisket knife. Cuts pretty smooth. Oh, wow. Look at that. That is juicy stuff. Oh man, it is just running out of that point. That point looks really good. Flat isn't bad. Let's slice a little piece of this. Yeah, just kind of maybe a little bit overdone there, but I was, again, trying to get the flat really to where it needed to be. Okay, I'm going to give this a try. Wow, that is like butter. That is a little bit of wonderful. Again, this was kind of interesting because the point on this was pretty thin. I really expected it to have a lot more fat built up, a little bit more of a bigger area in the point than on the flat, but it really wasn't. But yeah, that's good stuff. Let's cut a few slices here. You know, for the amount of effort that I put into this, the amount of work, I think this is a pretty good payoff. I'm going to have to invite some neighbors over to give this a try. A little bit of a smoke ring, not a huge smoke ring, but a good smoky taste to it. I like the flavor of the bark on there. I think that did very well. You can see the juice on there. This is just really juicy. Yeah. That is good. I can taste a little bit of that hint of coffee in there also. It just gives it a little bit of a richness to it. And I like that. So hey, I think this worked out pretty well. Hopefully this motivates you a little bit to figure out what you're going to cook in your backyard next weekend. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, give me a like, subscribe, and make sure you turn the notifications on after you subscribe. That little bell needs to turn black, and that way you can make sure and be notified each time we put videos out. Usually try to do that on Mondays, and hope you're enjoying it. Give me some comments, give me some thoughts, give me some ideas. Love to have some dialogue with you. Hey, thanks for watching today. I appreciate it.